Hi, Drive community. Welcome to another podcast of Dashboard, our official news hub in Senior High School Drive. In today's podcast, we are going to delve into understanding how to achieve peace from intrapersonal to interpersonal perspectives in the bounds of social, religious, and cultural perspectives. And as we celebrate the International Day of Peace, this podcast is the pilot episode for this week's podcast series with a focus on a peaceful society, a podcast in celebration of the International Day of Peace. I hope you guys will learn from us.
In our last post, we said that every community in the world has been clutching the courageous movement for equality and lasting peace, even from its first recorded history. But in this present generation, amidst where people learn to ignite their plucky behavior, leading to collective consciousness, and where people are now adept to use technology as their avenue to fight for freedom and inclusivity, there is this circulating doubt that equality and peace can ever be one step closer to reality. So today, we are anticipating getting a wider perspective on how peace can be achieved in different walks of life. Before we kick right in, we would like to introduce ourselves. My name is Earl, the Drive Engagement Coordinator and the Success Coach for Oral Communication.
I am Ira, the Drive Curriculum Developer and the Success Coach for Understanding Society, Culture, and Politics.
My name is Gracie, the Success Coach for Personal Development and Reading and Writing.
And as we are your hosts for today's podcast, and we will surely get in line with all the important information you have to know, and even to understand that the foundation of understanding peace from different perspectives are the stepping stones that lead to the celebration of International Day of Peace with this year's theme, Recovering Better for Sustainable and Equitable World. So, Miss Ira, I think you are the right person to introduce our guest.
Alright, so on that note, we are going to squeeze some knowledge much on our guest side. He is my former professor when I was in college in Adamson University. And today, he is a scholar in the field of sociology, an educator, a researcher, and an advocate of inclusive and participatory community development for the indigenous cultural community or the indigenous people and Muslim Filipinos. He finished his PhD in sociology program in the Behavioral Sciences Department, College of Liberal Arts at De La Salle University, Manila. He's currently teaching sociology and other social sciences and humanities subjects. He's also a research fellow at the Social Development Research Center at DLSC Manila. He is involved in different researches on various subject and dimension of education, indigenous people in education, disability and inclusive participation of PWDs, environment and marine citizenship, health and disaster risk reduction and management. His personal research interests include sociology of education, sociology of identity, sociology of happiness, sociology of health, Muslim Filipino study, and other areas of inclusive and participatory development. His personal commitment to inclusive and participatory development is integrated with his academic ties and research interests. Other activities include managing programs of Bahaghari Program and community extension work with the Alangan, Mangyanin Baco, Oriental, Mindoro. Please welcome in line Mr. Crisanto Brigadier. Please greet
Hello,
our
good
listeners, sir.
evening.
Ayan. All right.
Hi, sir.
Hi,
Okay,
sir.
Hello.
we are really looking forward to have this conversation with you,
Yes.
Professor Chris. And we think that it will bring, pieces of experiences and knowledge into the right places. So I think we have to start, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go with the first question. No? There are chunks of versions and uses of the term peace. Like be it of someone who likes to detach himself from the whole world, like okay, I need to to pause for a while, need to go somewhere else. And some of us would also like to spend some time in a place where things are new, right? Okay, need to experience this unfamiliar thing so that I can perfectly define what peace is all about. But in the societal perspective, Professor Chris, how does a community view peace?
I think we need to go back to the nature and characteristic of peace. No? So its primary characteristic is it is a word. And if you're going to look it up sa dictionary, then it means tranquility. Pero on the same note, yung dictionary definition niya, ang sinasabi is the absence of conflict. So we use peace as a word to refer to tranquility and the absence of conflict. Pero the word peace is also a social science concept or a philosophical concept or a religious concept or a cultural concept, no? And parang just the same dun sa dictionary definition niya. Parang we can't talk about peace without associating it with the other word which is parang antonym nung peace, which is conflict, no? Even in the social science, religious, cultural, political context niya. And even in the philosophical. No?
Yes, ayan. Sorry, medyo nagka-cut sa akin, no? Ayan. Yan, so definitely, no, parang Sir Earl, no, parang ang sinasabi ni Prof. Chris here is the definition of peace, no, as a word itself, marami siyang facets. We call that, tama ba yung term ko, no? Parang may
Yeah.
religious aspect ng definition nito, may political aspect, merong personal din, no, definition of peace din tayo. Yun nga, on our own level, diba? So, kumbaga walang iisang definition, tama ba, sir? Pero, yung pinaka-gist is yung the absence of, tama ba? Violence. Sorry, medyo nakata ko sa part na yun, Kuneri.
Mhm.
No, I think
Yeah. Parang it goes like,
it transcends its dictionary definition.
And I think that is what
Lumabas na siya. Yes, Dre.
I think that is what makes it an interesting term and at the same time a complicated term because we can look at it from different perspectives and from different lenses. And I'm glad that we're sharing this to our audiences right now because we're looking at it in a sociological lens, which I think will provide us with a lot of insights at the end of this session. Thank you for that answer, Sir Chris. Now, I have this. I encountered the term recently because we do have this notion that peace starts from within, right? We usually hear that. And so we have this concept of inner peace. Now, on an individual level, I encountered this concept of absolute peace. And it is said to be possible on an individual level. And the idea of absolute peace is typically associated with individual experiences via meditation, for instance. Now, Sir Chris, I'm just curious, on a societal level, how can we describe this absolute kind of peace? And is it ever possible when we put this notion or this concept on such a large scale?
No, I think we need to go back to your definition of absolute peace. Tapos, when you refer it to an individual experience, ano yan third world problem kasi siya. Third world problem, ito na yung an offshoot of individualism. Yung iba, ang observation nila, parang it was evident in the past, no? Lalo na nung mga ancient period, yung mga sages natin were parang looking for a way to find meaning and purpose in life. Pero, ano yan inappropriate ng mga modern individuals, no? Lalo na yung mga young urban professionals, tapos yung mga millennials, saka yung mga Gen Zs, who are also looking for yung meaning dun sa may buhay nila. Kaya nga, while preparing for this discussion this evening, ito yung sinasabi ko na transcendental experience. yung transcendental experience na yun na absolute peace is temporary lang. When you do your yoga, tapos you do 15 minutes na silent meditation, tapos sinasabi mo na you attained parang a sort of nirvana, just like what Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, diba, achieved for a decade of silent meditation. No? So yun, so magkahiwalay kasi siya ng mundo eh. Yung sinasabi mo na absolute peace na yun, na inappropriate natin ngayon, parang for us to coin an experience na magbibigay sa atin ng ano yan, yung a sense of peace of mind, and it is always associated with the idea ng mental health, no? Sa modern yan eh, yung idea na yan. So they appropriated it dun sa mga sages before, no? Saka yung mga tinatawag natin na pre-modern na mga philosophies, tapos religion and belief system, because part of the yung mga rituals and ceremonies nila, especially yung mga practices ng mga sages, is to abandon their family, abandon their community, tapos look for a quiet place to sit down, commune with nature, and find meaning and purpose, no? Yun yung sinasabi mo na absolute peace. Kaya nga medyo off ako dun sa idea na parang you automatically relate it to yung peace in a social context, no? Yung peace siguro na sinasabi mo in a social context, tapos yung absolute peace na yun, I don't think na we are near there. We need to look at the nature and characteristics of human beings muna eh. Kung babalikan niyo, di ba sa UCSB IRABEL, kasama sa mga discussion ay yung social nature ng man. Pero at the same time na may social nature siya, meron tayong tinatawag na political nature niya. Pero before we go to the social and political nature of man, ang hinanap ni na Thomas Hobbes, di ba? Sa kanina John Locke, sa kanina Jean-Jacques Rousseau ay yung state of nature ng tao. So yung state of nature ng tao is yung pagiging tao niya. And of course, kapag tinignan natin sa taxonomy ng mga animals, nasa tayo, apex daw tayo, no? And it has something to do with our rationality. Pero at the same note, on the same note, ano din naman tayo, no? We are parang sort of like animals. Kaya nga si Thomas Hobbes, di ba, ang understanding niya ng human nature ng tao ay we are wild. We are busy, no? Tapos we compete for the limited resources. And we need society parang to tame down that animal in us so we can have orderly society. Or orderly relationship and interaction with one another. Parang, baka yun yung hinahanap ninyo na peace, no? Yung iba naman, yung position naman ni na John Locke sa ni Jean-Jacques Rousseau, ay yung state of nature ng tao ay ideal eh.
Naturally good.
Oo, tapos we are naturally good.
Yes, yes.
We are maybe the way things were before society was invented ay peaceful coexistence yung mga yung mga band of the first Homo sapiens, kasi ganun yung nila, although wala pang Homo sapiens noon, hindi pa na-invento yung concept ng Homo sapiens, na-develop siya. So magkaiba yung context na yun, pero at the same time mag-uusap din tayo na sige, that is the state of nature. Ito yung debate between the social nature of man saka yung state of nature ng tao. Yung isang essential characteristic din natin ay there is a sense of or form of governance kahit dun sa may pinakamaliit na social unit, no? Which is the family. Diba? one holds this power, one holds this authority, and that individual who holds power and authority exercises it, diba, within that particular social unit. So pagka pinalaki natin siya ng mas malaki pa, then we have the international community na. And of course, ano na yan anong pwede natin na term? Exponential na yung measure natin ng power and authority that we hold. Hindi katulad sa family, medyo maliit lang. Pag pinalaki natin siya, tataas yung exponent. So pag mas malaking community na, ibig sabihin, we raise it to a million level na yung the power and authority that we hold, no? Because yung international organizations, they direct the life of the entire 5.7 billion population of the world, no? Kaya nga meron tayong sustainable development goal, millennial development goal, so ganun yung hold nila ng power. So pag tinignan natin sa political nature, so order has something to do with peace. So paano natin i-achieve yung order? Ma-achieve natin yung order kapag yung individual who holds power will hold and conserve and preserve that power. Tapos those who don't hold power and authority will submit to the one with the power and authority. So babalik na naman tayo sa dictionary concept niya na absence ng conflict. Kasi in that way, walang conflict kasi susunod at susunod lang tayo. Mula dun sa smallest political unit hanggang dun sa pinakamalaki na political unit. Kaso nga, may state of nature yung tao, so hindi tayo sigurado kung susunod ba talaga po sila o hindi susunod. I think Thomas Hobbes is correct nung sinabi niya na you can just easily ask a person parang to submit, no? Even in a family context. So dahil doon, walang order. Dahil walang order, may conflict. Dahil may conflict, ibig sabihin, hindi natin na-achieve yung peace, no? Pero ang sinasabi natin peace doon is not peace itself, no? Ang sinasabi natin doon ay order, tapos harmonious relationship and interaction dun sa may maliit na unit hanggang dun sa mga malaking unit. Kaya you need to go back to Confucius. Ang sinabi niya yung Confucius, parang pinagtahi niya yung tatlong domain ng mga tao. Although wala pa kasing international unit nung panahon ni Confucius, kaya hindi niya nakita. Ang tinignan niya lang is yung private muna, sabihin within the family, tapos yung public. No? And the public has something to do with your community. The public has something to do with the empire, yung Chinese na empire. No? So, paano natin ma-achieve yung order sa yung harmony? And that is the submission of the individual members dun sa tinatawag niya na mga different forms. Yung isa yata doon ang tawag doon ay Li, no? Li is ritual. So, you need to submit yourself to everybody from the person na may highest authority hanggang dun sa may person with no authority, kailangan mag-submit dun sa pinagkasunduan natin ng mga rituals and ceremonies, guidelines and policies. So, ma-achieve natin yung harmony, ma-achieve natin yung order, and ma-achieve natin yung tinatawag na peace, no? Peace within the family, peace among family members, tapos peace within the community, tapos peace in the entire Chinese empire. No? Kaso, mayroong kumontra sa kanya. Sinasabi nung isang group, it's not about rituals and ceremonies, no? It has nothing to do with values. Kasi naturally, obstinate ang mga tao. So the only way that we can control them is to set yung formal na mga values, formal na mga processes, tapos yung formal na mga guidelines. Kaya pinanganak yung legalistic tradition sa ancient China. And I think we still follow that legalistic tradition when we talk about peace and order, no? So whatever is approved by the United Nations,
Law.
uh, whatever is uh, stipulated in the Constitution, whatever is stipulated in the law, if we will follow it, di ba? If we will comply with it and observe it, then we will achieve order, harmony, no? Or a peaceful community, a peaceful nation, or a peaceful na international community na may absent ng conflict, no?
Thank you for that, Sir Chris. Now we are really getting the bigger and a clearer picture of this of the concept of peace. I think Miss Irabel has another question.
Yes. And I think somehow, no, medyo na-open mo na yung, kumbaga, towards na siya, no, leading to answering the next question, actually. But I want you, sir, to expand, no, or expound yung concept ng peace, no, as a universal concept talaga, no? So, is the idea of peace universal, or are there significant cultural differences relating to how it is defined? Let's say, for example, the difference between the concept of peace in the Western world or in the Eastern side of the world, no? Kumbaga, may pagkakaiba ba? Or it's just the same, yung concept of peace?
I think yung approach is different, no? Pero, universal naman yung term na peace eh. Parang in all known culture, meron silang associated na word para dun sa peace. So pag pinag-usapan natin siguro sa mga tribal, nag-uusap tayo ng yung may concept sila para dun sa may absence of conflict within different kinship groups, no? Kung paternal man yan o maternal yung kinship groups. Pero kasama din doon sa may understanding nila yung ng peace ay yung harmony with the other tribes, no?
Yes.
So lahat naman nagsimula naman lahat ng civilization sa mga bands saka din sa mga tribes, no? Pero eventually nga dahil nga naging extended na yung tapos complex na yung characteristic ng mga communities. Pag pinag-usapan natin yung peace, we need to associate it now with another social institution. Pwede natin sabihin na ang primary function is to promote peace din, yung mga religious institutions. Ang ganda din kasi parang pag sinabi mong there is power beyond us, kasi kung tao sa tao lang, ibig sabihin equal lang tayo How dare you ask us, diba, to submit to your will? Nagets, diba? So, we need to invent, parang we need to invent an entity which is more powerful than us. When we don't see it, more powerful than us. So, sa umpisa, diba, ang sabi ni August Comte, ang power na yun ay assigned sa nature. So, yung mga ancient na mga belief system, they associated with the tree, they associated it with the river, they associated it with the mountain. So, sila yung judge Tapos sila din yung promoter ng peace Pero sa totoo lang, parang you put human beings into submission dun sa may idea that there is an entity more powerful than us. So if we can't resolve conflict between one another, then we need to ask for the guidance of these great spirits, no? Diba, yung great spirits na yun, nandun sa may puno, nandun sa may ilog, nandun sa may hangin. Kaya lang, ang tanong dun, who will communicate with the spirit? Then we need the person again, di ba? Na
mediate.
To communicate, to mediate. And that person, hindi naman siya absent ng kinship tie, tapos ng tribal ties, ganyan. And that person, again, go back to yung nature ng tao, is pwedeng meron din siyang selfish, tapos individual desire. So yung maintenance ng peace gamit yung ancient belief system is course, to promote yung status and position of the kings, tapos ng tribe, within an entire community. Kaya nga, parang hindi din nasagot ng religion yung ano natin, no? yung quest natin parang to achieve peace. So nung mas nag-expand pa yung reach ng mga communities sa isa't isa. So ang peace ay pinag-uusapan na natin ng warfare. Kung sino yung matatalo, of course, needs to submit not just to the power and authority of the victor, pero needs to submit also dun sa belief system ng victor. And that is the only way, di ba? Yung sa may ancient Mesopotamia, pagka binasa ninyo yung kasaysayan niya, di ba, hindi lang naman nag-expand yung yung control pero nag-expand din yung isang religion, and that is the infant na religion. Pero at the same almost the same period, may isang nagra-rise din na civilization sa Egypt. Tapos may isang nagra-rise na civilization in India. Tapos may nagra-rise na civilization in China. Tapos weak pa naman yung Western civilization in that time. So lahat ng mga civilizations na to, they believe in that entity, in an entity or entities na more powerful than human beings. Kaya nga ang driver na nun ay hindi na about us, no? It is our God conquering the heathens or the non-believers. So kung nanalo kami because God wants us to defeat them and for them to submit to us and to submit to our God. And that is the only way that we can achieve peace. Kaya nga, pag tinignan mo sa lahat ng religion, meron silang form of greetings. I mean, almost form of greetings. Para siyang yung sa mga Katoliko na peace be with you. Kaso, you can only have peace.
That's right.
So, you can only have peace with those individuals who believe in the same God. Pwede, kung hindi ka naniniwala sa God na yun, bakit ka hindi naniniwala? And if you don't believe in our God, then that means you are not challenging our power, you're challenging the power of our God. And I don't want that because our God is omniscient, omnipotent, diba? And our God is just. So if you will cling to that particular tradition or belief, then that is a challenge to us. Then we need to challenge you, and we need to challenge that God who is more powerful, merciful, and just. No? Kaya tingnan ninyo, almost in all ancient civilizations, mga before they actually engaged in war, they asked for the guidance of those great spirits. Pero eventually, nag-rise yung ancient Greek, di ba? Tapos nagkaroon tayo ng tinatawag na Hellenization. Tapos yung Hellenization na yun, tingnan ninyo, the primary purpose of that is to establish peace, no? Dun sa side lane ng Mediterranean. For us to establish it, then we need to be militarily powerful to defeat the enemy. Pero those enemies, hindi natin enemy lang, enemy ng God natin. And I think it was very evident dun sa away na between the Roman Catholics sa yung Islam noong medieval period. And kung babalikan din natin sa sa context ng Philippine history, the primary purpose of the Spaniards when they came here ay, of course, parang to look for the Moluccas, di ba, yung Spice Island. So, economic naman talaga yung reason nila. But there is another powerful reason why they came here, and it has something to do with the spreading Christianity in this part of the world. So, ang tingin talaga nila doon sa mga natagpuan nilang mga natives dito, they are challenging, of course, the the will of the God of the Roman Catholics. And so they need to be pacified, tapos they need to submit, and of course, they need to be converted. So, yung lahat, halos ng mga maliliit na mga, yung packets of resistances na yung colony ng mga Spaniards sa Pilipinas, the driving force was religion. No? They wanted to go back dun sa the way things were before the Spaniards came here. And so, parang yung mga first ay led by the Babaylan. O kaya basta yung inassign nila ng mga priest. So, pag tinignan natin, kaya tayo, no? Hindi nasagot nung pag-assign natin o pag-invent natin ng a more powerful entity than human beings, yung issue natin sa may peace, no?
Yeah. I think that's on point, Professor Chris. No, I think we are being introduced to an array of options in understanding peace, or what peace is all about. Like from the historical accounts to the most contemporary ones, we are really getting things in their right places. No, from all your answers so far, we can see parang a diversity of meanings of peace, right? And also, rooting with your answer, Professor Chris, we can, definitely use the concept of globalization, since the question was, incorporating about the Western and Eastern concepts and their differences, no? And from your answer, I would like to add up some, this concept of globalization, that we know as professionals that globalization is all about collaborative and collective effort of all the countries, or kung ano mang country mag-involve or magbibigay ng information, or let's say for example, a very significant information to develop a certain country, or to help the country, achieve some sorts of development in all of the aspects of their, community, diba? Also, we can also see a perspective where Southeast Asian countries have been giving different perception on the perquisite of globalization and understanding what peace is all about. We know for a fact that there are marginalized sectors, especially here in the Philippines, na they have parang a different level of accessibility and understanding such, okay? Because of our different needs, and because of, let's say, they can't afford this highly technological world and even analyze or scrutinize international relations. But in the national lens, despite of an apparent, let's say, diversity among the countries all over the globe, there's a need to see how one developing country like Philippines, functions nationally and internationally. It can only access to this kind of pressing topic. For example, Philippines, from its first recorded history, it is a dependent country, right? Filipinos need to build stronger and harmonious relationship, not only in the national setting, but also to the people and the countries all over the world. So with this kind of thought, there's this one simple question that we have here, that across generations, can we say that Filipinos are peace-loving people?
Ngayon kasi, di ba yung sinasabi mo na dun sa may globalization, we are in the contemporary world. Pero bago yung contemporary world na sinasabi natin, merong a very significant na economic development phase yung mga Western European countries. Ang tawag natin doon is industrialization.
Yes.
So sa industrialization, of course, parang na siya, transition from the medieval to the modern. Tapos ang na-invento kasi doon ay factory. Tapos na-invento doon ay mga machines. Tapos ang na-invento ay, of course, the expanding market para doon sa mga produkto ng mga factories na yun. And later on, yung mga factories ay nag-enlarge, no? So nagkaroon na tayo ng tinatawag ng mga industrial na mga cities, tapos cosmopolitan na mga cities. And of course, pag nag-usap tayo ng production process, kailangan natin ng input. And of course, pag nag-usap tayo ng production process, yung susunod doon ay parang to market the products and services. And yung buong proseso na yun na something to do with profit eh. So, ang sinasabi nila, ano ang driving force dun sa mga major wars na na-witness ng humanity? No? The main driving force is something to do with market economy. So kailangan nitong mga industrialized na mga country parang for a secure source ng mga raw materials, and at the same time is expanding market. Ang problema, meron silang kompetensya na mga industrialized countries din. And they will not parang give way para dun sa sa isa na nagtatangka na i-secure yung isang geographical region in the world para maging steady source ng raw materials saka ng dumping site niya ng mga goods and services niya. So nagkaroon tayo ng tinatawag natin na World War I saka yung World War II. So it's a market economy driven conflict in an international scale. Pero kung titingnan natin sa geographical regions, meron din namang ganun eh, pero market economy driven conflict din siya. So anong nangyari dun sa ngayong mundo? Parang hindi ko alam kung saan perspective kayo manggagaling, no? Kung sa allied ba o dun sa may axis na power. Pero hati yung mundo ng World War I, di ba? Yung allied tapos yung axis. Parang kung titignan mo, parang wala namang mabuti o masama sa kanila. No? Kasi nga, pareho naman to na may vested na market economy self-interest. Nagkataon lang, natalo yung mga axis. Pero kung nanalo yung mga axis, baka we are celebrating the axis power now. No? Pero dahil natalo yung axis, nanalo yung allied. Pero tingnan ninyo, yung allied has something to do with superpowers in the world with colonies. And nakakalungkot kapag tinignan mo yung yung World War I, ang pinanlaban naman nila dun sa sa mga enemies nila. For example, yung Great Britain ay mga Indian na mga soldiers, Burmese na mga soldiers, tapos with the promise na they will be given, they will be awarded sovereignty or independence kapag ka nanalo. No? Pareho din sa Pilipinas, di ba? We were engaged in World War I sa World War II because we were occupied or colonized by the Americans. And prior to that, kasali din tayo sa sa away ng Spain sa US, tapos sa mga Portuguese, tapos sa mga French, no? Saka sa mga Dutch. So, kaya nga na-excite ako pag pinag-usapan natin yung peace and conflict, no? So, it's a market economy-driven conflict, and it is driven by the superpowers because of their vested self-interest. Pero the whole world was engaged in it, no? Kahit ayaw naman natin, saka hindi naman natin talaga sila kalaban. So nagtayo sila ng tinatawag nila na League of Nations, no? Yung League of Nations na yun, ito yung Allied power, tapos yung kalaban nila yung Axis power. So nanalo naman yung League of Nations. So it was the first time na nakita ng buong mundo na kung gagayahin natin yung model ng ancient Greek, no? Na yung mga states ay magkakaroon ng confederation or parang a form of unity in an international scale, then we can defeat the enemies of humanity. Pero sa totoo lang, enemy naman yun ng ng mga superpowers. In World War II is repeat of World War I. So parang nag-try pa yung Axis power, di ba? Na makabalik sila with the entry of new names, pero eventually they were also defeated. Ang pinaka sineselebrate siguro na ibang characteristic ng World War II has something to do with an attack by the Nazi regime in Germany on a specific na race. Yun yung uh, yung anti-Semitic na na tendency nila. Pero tapos ba yung war or conflict after World War II? Hindi naman di ba? Yung post-war era, nagkaroon tayo ng tinatawag na Cold War between the two superpowers that rose out of the ashes and deaths ng in World War II. So yung Russia saka yung US. Pero interestingly, kasali din yung Russia sa United Nations. Parang siya face value lang yung international unity na yun. Pero sa totoo lang, yung iba't ibang mga bansa sa buong mundo, parang they're just waiting for an opportunity parang to wage war against another. And it has something to do with politics daw, pero market economy driven.
Driven pa rin.
Oo. It has something to do with national boundaries. Pero check niyo yung mga pinag-aawayan nila ng mga natural boundaries. They are rich in natural resources. No? And of course, kapag nag-expand ka ng boundary mo, ibig sabihin, you will have more land area. More land area, ibig sabihin, you have more economic resource. So, pareho din naman ang issue natin sa China, di ba? It's not about parang territorial dispute. Pero yung territorial dispute na yan has something to do with economic reason pa din. Pero, pag tinignan mo siya ng mas malaliman, para lang tayong yung mga maliliit na mga bansa katulad ng Pilipinas, pawn lang tayo ng mga superpowers dun sa mga wars nila. So, tingnan niyo yung Russia, tapos yung China, the US, Germany, France, tapos United Kingdom. Hindi lang obvious katulad ng World War I and World War II yung intervention nila after yung post-war era and contemporary era. Pero, they finance, di ba, yung mga anong tawag doon? Yung mga secessionist group, rebel groups, terrorist groups within a nation in support of the administration, no? For the current government. Pero tingnan niyo, iba-iba sila. Kung yung US, pwedeng i-support niya yung mga rebel groups kasi ang sinusupport ng Russia ay yung, o kaya ng China ay yung administration. Pero pwedeng magkaiba naman sa ibang mga bansa, ang sinusupport ng Russia ay rebel groups kasi ang sinusupport naman ng US saka ng UK saka ng France saka ng Germany ay administration naman. So kung mag-usap tayo ng peace in an international scale, parang kakatawa siya eh. It's ironic na the United Nations ay nag-assign ng international day para i-celebrate yung peace or yung longing of men for peace. Pero, yung members din naman ng United Nations, especially the Security Council, sila din naman yung instigator ng mga conflict.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic. Diba, sir?
So, kung sasagutin ko yung tanong mo na peace-loving ba yung mga Pilipino, parang, okay, sa loob nga lang ng bahay, nag-aaway-aaway na eh. Within the neighborhood, nag-aaway-aaway na din. Even within a church, nag-aaway-aaway. I think we need to embrace the idea na hindi po pwede nga natin pag-usapan yung peace without associating it with another word, no, yung conflict. Parang ang ganda, kaya nga kwento ako sa Taoism eh, kasi yung sa yin and the yang. Parang hindi siya po pwede na mangyari na peaceful lang siya o ma-achieve natin yung absolute peace. Kasi there will always be conflict. Tapos there will always be a source of conflict. Ang siguro ang dapat nating pinag-uusapan ay paano natin i-minimize yung opportunities para doon sa mga conflict or rights. And so, ma-maintain natin yung tinatawag natin na order, tapos ma-maintain natin yung harmonious relationship natin sa isa't isa. In interpersonal, yung the smallest, between two individuals, hanggang dun sa international scope, between nations of the world. Na lagi-lagi magkakaroon ng conflict at hindi tayo magkakaroon ng peace, pero pwede tayo magkaroon ng tinatawag na temporal na peace. No? Temporal, ibig sabihin, even for a short period of time, meron tayong truce, so meron tayong agreement. Sa loob ng bahay, iba, ganun din yung nangyayari. Parang, sige, 2 linggo lang yan, hindi kayo mag-aaway ng kapatid. At least, tahimik dito sa may bahay. No? Ayun yung peace dun sa may loob ng pamilya. Sa community, ganun din. Mag-uusap-usap yung mga nagchismisa ng mga kapitbahay, di ba? Pinatawag doon sa may barangay. So, meron tayong tinatawag na peace, temporary experience of peace. Ganun din naman sa, halimbawa, yung issue between the secessionist groups in Mindanao. Meron din tayong, di ba, we are experiencing it now kasi yung MILF ay nag-sign na into an agreement, tapos they are now leading the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region na government. Pero hindi ibig sabihin na it's a finished project na siya. I think you need to parang embrace the idea na yung peace ay laging associated with another concept, which is conflict. So there is a possibility na again mag-escalate yung conflict in Mindanao even with the BARMM. Na nawi-witness na natin siya ngayon kasi there is another party, di ba? Na kalaban ng gobyerno natin, which is the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters. Tapos the Lumads also ay may may mga groups na din. Parang ganun.
Yes, sir. No, I think yung while you're trying to answer if we are peace-loving people, yun nga actually we can, yun nga based on what we have heard, parang ang hirap din sabihin talaga ng tapos na Filipinos are peace-loving people. Siguro lang to kumbaga parang born out of probably modern concept na natin ng how we fight for peace. 'Di ba? Parang ganun. Siguro na association with EDSA, like they say it's a peaceful way, 'di ba, to fight for freedom or democracy. No? Parang siguro dun na lang siya nanggaling, but we cannot really conclude talaga na Filipinos are peace-loving people based on our history. And even yun nga, binalik mo dun sa loob nga lang ng bahay, we are in conflict sometimes with each other, no? And sir, and go and connecting to parang di sa mga sinabi mo, talagang we can say ba, sir, no, that about the adage, no, na if you want peace, you have to prepare for war. Parang gano'n. If we want to achieve peace, kasi sabi mo, laging may conflict eh. 'Di ba? Kung pag-uusapan natin ng peace, hindi natin siya maihiwalay sa konsepto ng conflict. 'Di ba? So parang totoo ba talaga, no, na parang nagiging nako-confirm, no, yung adage na if you want peace, we should also prepare for war. Tama ba, sir?
No, we need to have strong mechanism parang to prevent the escalation of conflict. Kasi pwede naman nating ma-achieve yung harmony, yung order, pero kung yung peace na absolute na katulad ng sinasabi ni Grace kanina, I don't think that we will be able to achieve it. No?
To achieve that.
So, parang temporary siguro. Pero kung yung temporariness kasi niya, pwede natin siyang i-extend if you will have a strong mechanism to prevent na the escalation of conflict. Halimbawa, kahit naman sa mga tribal communities, meron silang mechanisms in place, no? Yung mga tribal leaders, they talk to one another. Tapos, it is either they have this sense of justice na an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. So kapag na-offend mo yung other party, then the leaders will talk. Tapos you need to pay the necessary na amount or parang to compensate the offense. So it will prevent yung escalation ng conflict between the two tribes, no? Ganun din naman sa international scale, eh. Di ba? Kaya nga nagkaroon tayo ng Security Council. Kasi the Security Council will decide the fate. Tapos meron din tayong tinatawag na International Crime Tribunal. Tapos we can engage in dialogue with another country if we have territorial na mga disputes.
Territorial disputes, yes.
So pag tinignan mo, wala namang giyera pa between China and the Philippines, di ba? Kasi may mga mechanisms pa tayo na na pwedeng puntahan before we resort to war. So, parang paano ba? Yung modern political system natin ay evolving pa siya eh. Kung mag-uusap tayo ng peace. Nag-experiment pa tayo ng mga mechanisms on how we will be able to achieve it. Halimbawa, nagtayo ng mga regional organizations, di ba? North Atlantic Treaty Organizations para maiwasan yung gera sa Middle East. Nagtayo sila ng OPEC, tapos dito sa Asia Pacific region para maiwasan yung conflict between countries in the Asia Pacific region. Meron tayong tinatawag na APEC, di ba? Tapos in Southeast Asia, para maiwasan yung conflict between countries in this region of the world, ay nagtayo tayo ng Southeast Asian Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So yung mga international organizations, parang in some way nagpo-promote sila nung temporary nga na absence of conflict or hostilities or war between nations, kasi they put in place a very important mechanism, which is yung dialogue. Ang problema natin kung hanggang saan siya may extend yung dialogue na yun. Kasi nakikita na natin siya sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo na nagkakaroon na ulit ng escalation ng mga conflict. So lalo na dito ngayon sa nangyari sa may Afghanistan. Yun.
Yes. Alright. I think Sir Earl, tama ba, or Miss Gracie still have questions for Sir, or clarifications with what he just said earlier.
Yeah, that's right, Professor Chris. I mean, yeah, despite of that unavoidable correlation between peace and conflict, no, we can probably put into conclusion that, in a, let's say, for example, in a simple community, in a simple conversation, like everyone is entitled to air their views on their, on their different stands. But we just got to have the sense of morality and the sense of responsibility. Like if we keep on fighting the things that we think are right, let's say for example, okay, we want peace, we want this kind of social movement, no, we have to make sure that it will not parang undermine or invalidate any community's way of living. Because if we do not weigh the consequences of our actions, our entitlement becomes burden, and our burden becomes like a nightmare to someone, diba? So we gotta stop being a nightmare to someone. Like we have to open our mind and let's accept diversity. Let's accept different versions and different definitions of peace. And we have to start promoting peace in a way that we are not really parang discriminating or maybe undermining parang other beliefs of people about peace, diba? Because really, in my personal perspective, no, I'm really afraid now because a lot of people are now in the competition, which leads to casting too much power to the other side with the rest. Like I'm afraid now because the fight for, let's say for example, equality, or the fight for a lot of, let's say for example, yung versions of right natin from different communities, no, it compromises peace, it compromises understanding, it compromises rational thinking and selflessness. But most of all, some are becoming blinded from the true goal of peace. And that is respect. And that is acceptance. Like yeah, we have different versions of peace and ways of thinking. But we have to remember that the root of chaos is not actually our differences. It's our ignorance to accept these differences. Because I believe acceptance is not only a responsibility of the other side. It's not only my responsibility, not your responsibility, but it's a social obligation of everyone. Right? And whenever we talk about peace, there is this kind of pressing question, no, that based on your perspective, sir, and all your answers, no, kanina sa mga questions natin, when can we say that a society is a peaceful society? What are the indicators or what are the qualifications for that? How can we say that, okay, Philippines is a peaceful society, or maybe my home is a peaceful, part of the society? Parang what are the checklists
Kasi
for that?
magkakaibang level ng mga social units. Of course, magkakaiba din syempre ng indicator para dun sa idea ng peace. So kung babalikan ninyo yung mga sinabi ko kanina, may iba't ibang operationalization of what peace means. Hindi very ambiguous yung concept ng peace So kung hahabulin natin hahabulin, we will not be able to get it or to reach it. Pero meron siyang pwedeng tangible manifestation. Yung tangible manifestation niya ay may kinalaman din dun sa, babalik tayo sa unang-una kong sinabi sa inyo, even in the dictionary definition, peace is associated with conflict. So, paano natin ma-achieve yung peace? We will be able to reduce the possibility ng escalation ng conflict. No? So, kung sa loob ng bahay yan, kapag hindi nagsigawan yung magkapatid, hindi nag-away yung mag-asawa, then pwede nating sabihin na merong peace dun sa may family. Pero sa social science kasi, we don't use peace para to describe that scenario. Ang tawag natin doon is there is a high level of, or there is a high a high level of quality of relationship between parents and the child, no? Or between siblings. Ibig sabihin, pinag-usapan natin yung idea mo ng peace doon sa context ng relationship within the family and the quality of relationship within the family. If the quality of relationship is high, ibig sabihin, meron kang mga indicators. So, hindi unang-una, hindi nagtatayan yung magpamilya. No? Pangalawa, hindi sila nag-aaway lagi. Pero kidding aside, pag inano natin, what is a peaceful family, tatawanan ka ng ng mga tao. Kasi in reality, you can achieve that. Kasi may mga individual differences pa din yung mga members ng family. And those individual differences, pwede na parang i-suppress, i-manage with the authority of the father or the mother. No? Kung hindi kaya ng authority ng father sa kanang mother, hindi mag-aaway yung mga magkakapatid. Ang laging sasabihin mo pag nagsumbong ka sa mga kaibigan mo, ayoko sa bahay ang gulo-gulo niya. Yung term na yun na ang gulo-gulo niya is referring to the idea na hindi payapa doon sa may pamilya. So, ganun din sa may community, ganun din kapag tinaas mo ng higher level. So kung sa international scale yan, most of the historians, ang observation nila ngayon ay because we don't have parang the possibility of having another world war ay medyo malayo pa. So, ibig sabihin, we are living in a peaceful world na. Diba?
In a peaceful, yeah.
Kung sa Southeast Asian region na yan, parang there is slim chance na Malaysia or Indonesia will attack the Philippines or attack Singapore. So, ibig sabihin, we are living in a peaceful peaceful na region. Kaya lang, pag pumunta ka naman sa mga bansa, di ba may mga secessionist at mga rebel groups. So dahil may secessionist and rebel groups doon, so the absence of course ng mga secessionists, ng mga rebels, mga fundamentalists, ng mga terrorist groups will account to yung sinasabi natin na peace within the country.
Thank you for sharing your insights and wide knowledge about this topic, sir. We're not yet ending, but I just really wanted to thank you because so far we are getting very, very good ideas. And I love the idea of understanding the concept of peace, like yin and yang. This really is what I really love about Sir Chris's discussion. As much as we wanted peace and peace alone, as mentioned and as discussed with us by Sir Chris, it is and it will always be linked with conflict. And so if we wanted to understand peace, then maybe we should look at conflicts too. If we wanted to promote peace, then we should understand what are our sources of conflicts as well. I'm really getting a lot from this discussion, and I am certain that our audiences will be getting a lot from this too. Now, Sir Chris, speaking of our audiences, since we have game changers who will later on be listening to our discussion now. Sir Chris, what are the practical ways in which our young people, the youth, can promote or contribute in cultivating a peaceful society?
Mga tinatanong ninyo kasi parang you are looking for normative kasi ng mga answers eh. So, wala kasing normative answer to this one. No? May mga relative na mga answers. Relative, it has something to do with the context, with the circumstance, dun sa may person, within the family, within the community, within the region, within the country, within a geographical region in the world and the international community, no? So walang normative. And I think the primary issue siguro kaya we can't achieve kaya nga yung term, diba, lasting peace. Hindi siguro absolute, pero lasting or extended period of time peace ay because we are looking for a normative answer and we want to impress and exert yung impression na yon dun sa iba na meron silang ibang impression of what peace is and how peace or order or harmony and balance can be achieved, no? So, medyo mahirap siyang sagutin kasi I don't believe in normative responses. No? I believe in contextual saka yung mga relative. So whatever the situation is, para maiwasan yung conflict mo with your friends, di ba? Of course, parang you need to look for opportunities. Yung katulad nga ng sinasabi ni Sir Earl kanina, na to find opportunities na the thoughts, the ideas, the emotions of that person is respected. And of course, kapag hindi ka naman ni-respect, you look for opportunities din para irespeto naman niya yung sinasabi mo. So you need to look for opportunities para hindi yung mag-escalate yung conflict, no? Kasi pag nag-escalate siya, pwede na siya sa verbal aggression tapos physical aggression. In a larger context, war na siya, no?
Yes, sir. I mean, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the question or the last question on our list, yeah, it was about youth, no? And from compiling all the answers from the different questions that we had so far in our conversation, it actually suggests that our major occupation this time is to achieve individual peace empowered with equity. Like peace should start from home, or maybe peace should start from within, and then let's radiate it to the world that will help the country produce and distribute wider reach of influence. Like we really need to educate everyone about how peace should be done and understand in let's say in a centered and powerful guidance, like using the power of technology, the power of social media, the power of collective efforts as effective tools that would help us to empower women, to promote quality education, to promote equality, to improve health, establishments, and any other things, diba? Kasi that's the main focus of the theme International Day of Peace, you know, leading to a more specific theme. Yun nga yung, it's about sustainable and equitable world. So yeah, I think we can wrap it all up by saying that peace can be a complicated term in different perspectives, in cultural
Mhm.
perspective, in societal perspective, and religious perspective. We can also see, let's say, a wider view of these definitions when we go through life in different aspects, maybe in simple occasions or when we are in the middle of a lot of people or maybe in front of a lot of people, saying that okay, this is my belief about peace, whether you believe it or not, whether you adopt it or not, I don't care. Okay, so it's more of like, yeah, despite of the diversity that we have and looking to a very optimistic view, we need to respect opinions from other people, and from there we can build a, let's say for example, harmonious society or maybe a peaceful society where everyone is, you know, is trying is, you know, is capable to respect other people's belief as well, like Miss Gracie.
Yes, that is right. And we would like to thank you, to thank Sir, our professor for tonight, Professor Chris, for sharing your knowledge with us and for letting us learn from you. Personally, guys, I got so much insights about the celebration of International Day of Peace, and surely our listeners felt the same way. And again, once again, Sir Chris, I really wanted to thank you for this opportunity. I feel like I'm listening to a very, very good classroom discussion.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
That is all right.
Yes, and Sir Chris, do you have final words to our listeners, or are there people whom you would like to greet?
Siguro yung sa idea lang, no, we need to put in place mechanisms, di ba? Parang to prevent the escalation of conflict, no? Or conflicting situation. Yun yung pinakamahalaga. So individually, we can do it, di ba? In the community, we can do it. Tapos, in a more legalistic sense siguro, no? Kaya idol ko yung mga ano yung mga legalist in China, no? Kasi I think that is the only way that we can really extend yung peace and order situation at whatever level ng social units.
Right. Thank you, sir. No? So, ano talaga ng, kahit anong level man yan, from the personal or the individual level, kahit international level, our goal is to prevent conflict. Kumbaga, for it to escalate. Kasi hindi nga naman natin talaga maiwasan ng conflict, but we can promote peace, no, by minimizing it or preventing it to escalate talaga in a bigger level na talaga ng conflict. So, thank you, sir. May mga people po ba kayo would like to greet or some um mga friends or family?
Wala naman.
Wala naman. Okay, so. Alright, Miss Gracie.
Yeah, thank you, Drive community, for listening. We appreciate the time you dedicated to put this podcast on air. But this is not the end. We still have 2 podcasts coming in the next days. I bet some are interested in yoga or craving for more technical discussion on the International Day of Peace. We got them all this week.
Right. But not bursting the bubbles more, we come to an end of this podcast. I'm Earl.
I'm Ira.
I am Gracie.
Signing
Signing
off.
off. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Stay
Thank you,
safe.
Sir Chris.